Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Apex for Youth Ambassadors podcast series. Today's podcast will be hosted by the coolest trio among the youth ambassadors. Don't tell the others I said that. Today's topic for our podcast is Asian American teen relationships with family. So, first and foremost, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Aria, and I use she, they pronouns. And I'll pass the mic off to Ruhshona.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to be here and I'm so excited to talk to you guys. My name is Ruhshona, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'll be passing the mic to our last host, Izzy.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning into our podcast today. I'm Izzy, my pronouns are she, her. I'm another one of the Apex for Youth ambassadors and I'm a junior. I'm super excited to take part in this. And then today we are going to talk about each of our experiences with our families as Asian American teens. I feel like most of our experiences mirror and connect to each other in ways that we might not have realized before, but it is important to think about this interconnectedness because that's what makes us unique and who we are. Don't you agree, Aria?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said right there, Izzy. As we talk about similarities, one thing that really comes to mind is how immigration and being a part of the Asian American diaspora affects all of our relationships with our family and our parents. Our unique backstories with immigration do parallel each other in some ways, and we would love to explore that today in our podcast. So, speaking about my experience with immigration, my story with immigration is a bit different since I moved to the United States with my older siblings, and my parents and my younger sibling, they still live in Bangladesh. While my story may be different in that aspect, it does have similarities with how immigrant kids usually feel like they have to mature early and take care of themselves. Since I moved to United States at the age of 15, I did feel the same emotions. And I feel like immigration has affected my family dynamics a lot because well, the sole reason my parents send me and my siblings to America was well because of the American dream, because they wanted me to have like a better education and a safer environment to study and live in. And since my parents have like a lot of commitments in Bangladesh, they did not that did not allow them to join me here. And right now, our only communication is through social media. And I would say that impacted my family dynamics a lot because I mean, it is really hard to be a parent to a daughter from 4,000 miles away and only through a video call. And I really don't like I don't really think about it a lot, but it still feels unfair to me because immigration like stands as this huge barrier against me and my parents from connecting each other. And I really can't do anything about it because they think it's the best for me to be in the United States and take advantage of the opportunities that I might not get in Bangladesh. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think my experience was a bit different than yours, Aria. I came here really young when I was 6 in the year 2011 from Samarkand, Uzbekistan. And we were able to immigrate here because we won visas via lottery, and this was like a huge deal because coming to America is the highest privilege in my country. And so we felt really lucky that we were able to like come to the West.
And for me, the first year after we immigrated was quite difficult for all of us, especially my mother because we didn't speak English. And even today, my mother doesn't speak any English. We used to depend on our neighbors whom we were close with to like help with documents, bills, etc. And I was able to learn English pretty fast because I was young, and this was the same case for my siblings. After that first year mark, though, all three of us were fluent and we were able to now help my mom with our bills, like our documents. Although it took away the burden of asking our neighbors for help, it was still really difficult for my mother because she was a single mother raising 3 kids on her own and trying to make ends meet. And she worked as like a senior caretaker for a couple of years through like a Russian agency, which was perfect because she was fluent in Russian. And our family dynamic for the first couple of years was that my mother would work to support us, and my siblings and I would just like go to school and help her in ways that we could.
I relate with the part when you said like coming to America is like a very seen as very like a high achievement. because back in my country it is too. Like America and the West is so glamorized in our country that like families and communities, they all like strive to come to America. Like
Yeah.
it is this achievement they need to achieve. So yeah, I definitely like relate with what you said right there.
Yeah, I agree too. I feel like it's also really hard to come into America because personally for my relatives, they had to wait like years for like their visas to be like reviewed, to make sure they're like actually good people, not criminals, in order for them to like come into America. So it's definitely like a super long process and they're really grateful for coming here.
Yeah, and just connecting the super long process of immigration back to family dynamics, I feel like the amount of time it takes for like a entire family to come to America is like a long time. It like sometimes even sponsorship takes like 10 years or like 15 years for the family members to all come here. And I feel like that affects family dynamics a lot because I mean some of the family, they come to America at like and are at like for like less time, and then the other family members are stuck in their home country and they can't come because they are like bound by visas and citizenship. So I feel like that really affects, I mean that's the way like immigration really affects families, is sometimes it like stands as a barrier to from families from connecting with each other.
I think what makes my story similar to Izzy's and Aria's is that we've all watched and noticed the more negative effects of immigration, whether it was us who experienced it or our parents.
Yeah, I agree with what Ruhshona said. Personally, for me, I'm a first generation immigrant. So I was born in the US, but my parents are both born in China. So they immigrated here and had me and my siblings. My dad, he immigrated here from China in his mid 30s, so he was pretty old when he came here. And he came here on a visa, I believe. But it was really hard for him to, find work because he wasn't a citizen, and he majored in French in China. So with a French degree, it wasn't the most like, I guess, applicable to a lot of the roles in America, and he couldn't really even get a degree in an American university because like the tuition was just too much for him to handle and he didn't have a lot of money. So personally, he really, really struggled with that. And adapting to the American lifestyle until he met my mom. My mom, she came here as a teenager, around my age, 16-ish. And for her, she really struggled with the language barrier because in her high school, she would have a lot of trouble talking because she was scared of, speaking up because her English was not the best. And I think that really limited her growth, I guess, and adjustment to the American lifestyle too. So yeah, that's how immigration really affected my parents. And even though I wouldn't consider myself directly like an immigrant, since I didn't really immigrate here from another country, I still like experience some of the things that Aria mentioned. Like I definitely feel like my parents, because they're immigrants, they also want to achieve the American dream, and not just themselves, but for me and my siblings too. And they definitely really value coming here to America. And that has really shaped me because I feel like they're definitely they have higher expectations of me, which sometimes it like kind of forces us to clash. I feel like there is a lot of like implicit pressure that comes with like strict immigrant parents. Well, personally for me, I think I would consider them tiger parents, except I feel like the definition of tiger parents is kind of blurred, and sometimes you might not realize you have tiger parents. But I think I wouldn't say mine are complete tiger parents, but just the way they're really strict about small things, and the way they assert control on me, I guess, sort of shows some side of their tiger parenting. And I feel like a lot of that comes from their experience as immigrants, because how their parents raised them up, and there's sort of this like intergenerational pattern of tiger parenting that they kind of reflect onto us, me and my siblings. And there is definitely this, of course, emphasis on education, and, just wanting to do better in society. And I think this tiger parenting, it comes out of love, tough love. And even though sometimes it might be really annoying, like having my parents always nagging me, I sometimes do appreciate it, and I see like their intents in doing it. They have good intentions, and it helps me like better understand them.
Yeah, you bring up like a really good point there, Izzy. I mean, I feel like while tiger parenting does like exist in like a lot of Asian American families, I feel like I do acknowledge that it exists, but I feel like there's this huge stereotype of like the stereotype that other people hold on like Asian Americans that, oh, all Asian Americans have tiger parents, but I feel like that is not the case, because I mean, I'm a prime example of it, because I do not have tiger parents per se. I mean, they do expect like a lot from me. They do expect like for me to be successful, and I feel like to some extent all parents, like, they do want their kids to be successful, but I feel like expecting your kids to be successful and being a tiger parent, or like I mean, they are like two different things. They're like separated by this like really blurry line. So I feel like while my parents do expect me to be successful, they're not tiger parents. I mean, I'm not, I don't think I've ever been I don't think I've ever been like really forced, or I guess you could say berated for like getting like, I guess for like not reaching their expectations. But they, like, even if I don't reach their expectations, they would always tell me that, oh, there's like there's another chance for you to do better in the future, or you gave your best. So yeah, I feel like while there's like a lot of Asian American families do have tiger parents, I feel like it is important to acknowledge that not all of our experiences are the same, or are like consist of the stereotypical tiger parents.
Connecting to like the American dream and American culture in general, I feel like my family experienced like a perspective shift. Like when back at home, we were more family oriented, and then in America, we became more individualistic, because back at home, the idea of reputation and success was mostly considered as a whole family, while in America, it's more focused on the individual.
That is a really great point you make, Ruhshona. Would you mind elaborating more on that? Because I'm really interested on hearing your perspective on it. No, I'm actually very interested on hearing. Spot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I really want to hear more about it, because I've never heard that perspective before.
Wait, why did I think of humanism when you said that? I was like, AP Euro flashbacks to humanism, medieval period.
Okay, sorry, Ruhshona. You can take your time to think about it. I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think growing up in America and growing up on social media, even, it made my siblings and I more concerned with our individual success, and it made us almost reject like the idea of our family's like reputation and honor, because we were in America. We didn't really have to think about what goes on back at home, and like all the pressures and ideas like back at home, because it can't really reach us here. You know, we were so far away. A whole ocean was between us, so it didn't really have the power to affect us. So we became more, I guess, assimilated into American culture. It sounds really like bad, but
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I feel like to some extent, all of us were assimilated. Oh, sorry, that's a very like hard word. Assimilated into American culture. I mean, and I don't think it's a bad thing to like admit it per se, because it is what it is.
I also feel like living in New York City, it's like such a melting pot. I still retain a lot of my culture and also get to experience other people's cultures. Even because I feel like in New York City there are a lot of immigrants, right? Especially in like ethnic enclaves like Flushing, like Jackson Heights. There's a lot of different cultures there, and I still feel like it's cool to keep some aspect of our cultures alive.
Yeah, I felt like I was out of touch with my culture growing up because I was growing up to be quote unquote American, and I even started to forget my language at one point because the only person I like speak Tajik to is my mom, and I was really young. And at times, I feel like I'm not doing my heritage justice because I am too westernized. To this day, I feel like I'm too American and not Uzbek enough.
And just connecting back to how families react to this like melting pot of cultures, like Z mentioned, in America. I feel like in this melting pot of cultures, there's our culture and there's American culture too. And our family and our parents, I feel like they want us to adopt the American culture more than the culture we grew up in, because they want us, I mean, in a way, I feel like they think that accepting American culture is going to help us live better in America and like help us in workplaces or like in our schools if we like adapt like being an American. And while I mean I don't quite agree with it, because I mean I feel like we can have good success in our communities by being ourselves as well. We don't need to be like a certain version of ourselves to just like achieve success. We can represent our culture proudly without being like, I guess, fully Americanized.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like immigration has really affected my parents because they kind of treat like Western culture as sort of like like the most successful, since America is kind of like a world power currently. And I feel like because of that, they've want me to adopt like American ways. Like even me and my siblings, we all have very like American names, like Isabella, Justin. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with trying to adapt to American culture, which is affected a lot by like my parents' sentiment, which I don't think necessarily is like a bad thing. Um, but it just shows how much influence like immigration has had on my parents.
I just want to circle back on a point Izzy made earlier. Immigration has made me mature early, and I feel like that is a bittersweet feeling, because I mean it's great to mature early and take care of yourself early and be self-dependent, I guess. But it is also kind of bitter in a way that, I mean, we are high school students. We're supposed to like enjoy life and I guess be a little childish, I guess, childish in the way a high schooler is. But immigration has made that kind, I wouldn't say impossible, but has made that difficult. We are like conditioned at a young age to, I guess, get older faster. I feel like my family has definitely helped me through that, because my family is well, they are very supportive. And even when I'm having like a very hard time, well, when I'm like having like bad thoughts or like negative thoughts, my family is right there and like showing me the positive side of things. And I feel like that's how they affect my mental health in a way.
So, family dynamics often have profound effects on Asian American teenagers' mental health. And as we talk about our families and like what kind of family dynamics we have, it's important to highlight how that might affect each of us and also how it might shape us as people.
And mental health stigmas are prominent in every culture and country, especially the Asian countries. And talk of mental health is frowned upon in my culture. If someone is mentally and emotionally unstable, they will automatically be shunned. And most of the time, they simply won't be taken seriously. And this could be because of like lack of education and awareness. My family dynamic never really affected my mental health, and I think I was very lucky in that regard. And this was mostly due to me being the youngest and the most vulnerable at the time. They, my family, they protected their youngest against harsh realities by keeping me in the dark about a lot of issues, which I only learned about quite recently. But that's not to say that I'm extremely and beyond grateful for my lovely and supportive family that always made sure I was well. But I was more concerned with my family's mental well-being because they were older and they didn't have much to depend on. They were forced to grow up so much quicker than I was. Sometimes I feel guilty for that, but I'm always reminded that it was intentional. Another thing that's really important is that everyone in my family has a distinct and different experience with immigration because of our family dynamic. I think the structure of our births also has a lot to do with it because my older brother will have an extremely different experience than my older sister. Well, obviously, because they're two different people, but a factor that can account for that is my sister being the oldest daughter in the family, which is a huge deal back at home. It's lessened here in America, that pressure, but not to the point that my sister and mother still didn't suffer the pressures and oppression that comes with being the oldest daughter and a mother of three.
Yeah, I feel like growing up, my family dynamics really affected my mental health because um I just feel like there was such like immense stress. It was almost like palpable and kind of invisible. There's just so much stress to do better. And within my family, I definitely feel like with the men in my family, especially like my father, grandfather, um, they kind of have this sentiment where they feel like they are the breadwinners and they sort of have to lead the family, act like alpha males. And I feel like it's kind of a generational sentiment. My grandfather felt it. And back then, when my mom was still a child, like in their family, boys or men were regarded as more important than girls. And I feel like that history of just favoring like the patriarchy really kind of trickled down to now. And even though it's not as like prominent, like the inequity, it still lingers. And I feel like my dad definitely feels like, you know, he has to be like the strongest person. He represents my family sort of because of like his French degree and like how he couldn't really use that in America. He had a lot of pressure to find another source of income to like raise my family, right? And I feel like for him there was a lot of, it felt really like futile, his efforts, because like I think he is pretty intelligent and successful in his like in China, but when he came here he felt really like it was almost like he kind of relegated or downgraded. And I think that really affected his mental health because he felt like he wasn't reaching his full potential. And a lot of that pressure kind of just culminated in his treatment towards like me and my siblings. And I think that really affected our family dynamics a lot. All this stress kind of just, you know, there's no outlet except onto those closest to him. And that just it is really complicated because it's really hard for him to express like his vulnerability and times when you know he is struggling to really like deal with the family, and it's hard for him to also ask for help because that he thinks is sort of like a sign of weakness, I guess. And it just really hurts me to see him sometimes in these like moments because I can tell he's really struggling, but it's just really hard for me to reach out, comfort, and help him because he doesn't, like, I guess his pride is the barrier between us. So I feel like growing up, I kind of just had to deal with these struggles by myself. I kind of had to like hold it in sort of, which really affects my mental health. It helped me become more independent, but in a way, sort of just made me like develop this habit where I sort of hold my feelings in.
Yeah, and connecting back to like the good versus bad regarding immigration, there are so many amazing things that came from my family immigrating here, and the good stuff always and will continue to overpower the bad. But some of it was like really scary too, like seeing my mother suffer some of the consequences of immigration. My mother unfortunately suffered a back injury like a few years into living in America, which I think was like the last drop in the bucket before my siblings and I started to see that she needed like help and support. And to see her well-being deteriorate because of immigration was like a blow to the chest because immigration was supposed to be great. America was supposed to be a dream come true. It was all supposed to be amazing. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say this, but the experience gave me a sense of initiative and drive to change the system in whatever way I can. It made me see that I want to change it, and that should my children grow up here in America, it's important for me to learn from the past and to do what I can to make my future and the future of my community, the Asian community, better. And it's actually what drove me to join the ambassadors in the first place, so I can work towards a just future, which is part of our mission statement, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Ruhshona. I feel like immigration is a very broken system, and it separates families, and it raises like a lot of bad experiences for all of us. And yeah, and I just like Ruhshona, I do want to make a change in this bad system and like actually create changes towards the good. So yeah, that was also the part of the reason why I joined the ambassadors in the first place. So yeah.
I agree. I feel like a lot of the ambassadors are immigrants or do have experience related to immigration. And though I feel like immigration is kind of inevitable in the future, I feel like it will always be happening with people moving from country to country. I feel like I agree. I definitely think the system can be improved. And the reason we are having this podcast to sort of highlight the effects that immigration has had on us, whether it be good or bad, is kind of the first step to really fighting the problem of America's immigration system, so people can be aware of its effects and learn how it has affected the Asian community and youth.
That was such a great conversation. Thank you guys for sharing your personal experiences with immigration, family dynamics, and mental health. Sadly, we do have to end it here because we have a time limit, but before we end it, we will each go around mentioning a few highlights from our conversation. I can go first. I just want to say that I'm in awe of you guys and your strength, and your choosing to join the ambassadors in spite of and because of your experiences. And I'm grateful to know you guys and have learned your personal stories.
Yeah, I really want to commend you guys for being so courageous and sharing these stories, because I know a lot of them are very personal and affect us deeply, and it's not always easy to share about them. So I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys for doing that.
Also, for the people who are listening to this at home, we are actually doing this podcast like on a Zoom meeting, so we are actually able to see each other's faces, and I love the very dumb smiles that are coming onto my face right now. I mean, they might have sounded a little bit corny, but I really appreciate you, each and one of you guys. And yeah, like Izzy mentioned, it's not that like easy to talk about these stuff, and I'm really proud that you guys could talk about it, and we could all relate to each other. Yeah, so thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I hope our conversations were an intriguing perspective for you all to think about.
And as always, we have to plug ourselves. If you really enjoyed our podcast and would like to see more of our amazing work, you can follow us on social media to stay connected. Our Instagram handle is at Apex for Youth Ambassadors. No underscores, just everything combined together. And our own personal Instagrams, please follow, because I need followers. Mine's is at Izzy on Insta, no underscores.
I also need followers.
What?
So I also need followers. So my Instagram is at Aria_HO. It'll also be in the caption.
I may or may not need followers, but you can still follow me if you want at RVHSHONA.
That is like the best ending to a podcast.
Thank you guys. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.